this is John from caveofprogramming.com, and this is a tutorial on maps in Java. So I think after lists, maps are probably, I would say, the most useful of the Java Foundation Collection classes. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the most common type of map, which is the hash map. So here I am in Eclipse, and I've got my main method set up already, and I'm going to just create a variable of type hash map here, and I'll set it equal to a new hash map. And I will do Ctrl-Shift-O to add the imports. Now, maps store pairs of values where one member of the pair is called the key and the other is called the value. So when you create your map, you have to specify what kinds of objects you want to store in it. And you can actually use any kinds of objects for your keys and values. The only thing to watch is that if you have your own custom objects as the keys in a map, you have to implement the hash code and the equals methods. But leaving that aside here, let's just take a simple case. So I'm going to here say that I want to store in my map. What should we have? Maybe I'm going to store strings keyed by integers. And you'll see how that works in a minute. But here I want to specify integer and string in these angle template brackets. And I need to specify that here as well. So whenever you mention the type of the map, basically you've got to mention what's in it as well. Now I can add key value pairs into this map by using a method called put. So if I say map.put, then I can pass that an integer, let's say 5, and I can pass it a string. And for the sake of simplicity here, I'll just make the strings the integers but spelt out in letters to keep things simple. And this is basically going to create a lookup table where you can look up, in this case, these strings using these, in this case, numbers. So let's have a whole bunch of different entries in this map, and I'll just put a few random different numbers in here. Let's have maybe 2, and I'll just make the strings all the numbers spelt out in letters so that it's easy to remember which one goes with which. Now once you've got your map, basically now you've got a lookup table, and if you want, for example, the string 4 here, you can get it using this integer. Whoops, get rid of that. So I can say string, I'll call this string variable text just to give it a name, equals map.get, and to get I pass the key of the thing I want to get. So the key of this 4 string here is this number 4 here. So if I pass that number 4, and you might think, well, these are primitive types, but Java will kind of auto-box them with kind of non-primitive types, so you can happily use integers in your map like this. And now, if I output text like this, it's going to say down here 4. If you try to get a value that doesn't exist in your map, so I haven't added 1 to my map, then the thing returned, the value returned, will be null. And another interesting case is what happens if you try to add an object that has the same key as an existing object. Let's say, for example, here, so at the moment I'm outputting the object, I'm retrieving the object keyed by the object 6, and supposing later on I add something that's keyed with 6 again, so map.put 6, and let's say hello. What happens is that your second put will just overwrite the first. So although you can happily have duplicate values in a map, you cannot have duplicate keys. If you try to add a duplicate key, you'll just overwrite your previous key, which is fine if that's what you want to do. So that's putting and getting is basically the essence of maps, and there's not a whole lot more to them. But sometimes you might want to iterate over all the key value pairs in a map, and you can do that using a slightly strange syntax. I'll use a so-called for each loop here. I'll type for, and now the type of each key value pair is actually, I'm going to use the map interface, and it's actually map.entry, and then in angle brackets you need to specify again the type of things, the type of the key value pairs in your map, like this. And I'll declare, I'm declaring a variable of the type map.entry integer string. So let's call this entry and put a colon there, because this is a normal for each loop. And here I put the thing that I want to iterate through, map, and entry set, like this. So this is quite complex, and the first few times I use this, I just used to copy and paste it off Google. You know, if you search for like iterating through a map, Java or something like that, you'll certainly come up with this. And then let's do Control-Shift-O, because I need to add the import for map there. And now I can get the value, sorry, I can get the key by saying, well, the key is an integer, so let's say int, I could use int or the class integer, it doesn't matter here. I could say int key equals and entry, so that's the variable that I declared here, entry dot get key, like this. I can get the value in a similar way. I can say string value equals entry dot get value, like that. And so now if I output these, let's say you'll see that it really is just like a lookup table. Let's output key here, and I'll concatenate some punctuation here, and then plus value. So if I run this, it's going to give me all the keys and values in my map down here. Let's just maybe see if I can expand that a bit. So the 6 is just coming out from this sysout I have up here, and then we're iterating through all the keys and values in the map. Now, one thing that you really must pay attention to, because it'll introduce horrible bugs into your code if you don't, Hashmap is not sorted in any way. So you can't, if you iterate through this one time and you get this order, next time you iterate through it, it may be the same, but it equally might not be. And in fact, I've seen quite complex programs where this has worked repeatedly many times, and then like the 100th time it just randomly changes order and doesn't work. So you always have to bear in mind that a hash map does not maintain order. And in the next tutorial, we'll look at a couple of types of maps that do maintain some kind of order. But that's all you really need to know for the moment for Hashmap. So join me again next time when, as I say, we'll look at more different kinds of maps, and we'll also look at the map interface in itself a bit more. You can find this code on caveofprogramming.com, which is all one word. So until next time, happy coding.